Hi, I'm Brian McDonald, editor with O'Reilly Media. I'm talking today with Semmy Purewal, author of Learning Web App Development from O'Reilly Media. Thanks very much for talking to me.
Oh, you're welcome.
So the meme I've been hearing lately is that everybody should learn to code.
Right.
Is that something you agree with?
Absolutely.
So why does everybody need to learn to code then?
I sort of look at it like as kind of going along with reading, writing, and arithmetic. I mean, everything is computerized nowadays, and you want to be able to speak the language of computers. And what is that language? It's code. So it seems like sort of a logical progression of sort of the classic arts. And I mean, if you look like historically at the liberal arts, I mean, you almost wonder if it would have been if computers had been around back when they were when the liberal arts sort of came about at colleges and universities. You wonder if it would have actually been one of them, like right along with mathematics. It seems to fit in really well with that.
All right. So when then? Do we start it in kindergarten or?
So in my opinion, it should be taught from kindergarten
Really?
on. I mean, I learned to program very, very young. When I was in, so my dad was an electrical engineer, and we had computers in the house from when I was very young, and I remember playing around with old Radio Shack computers and learning BASIC and things like that, and be really encouraged to work with computers from an early age. I think that sort of is what kind of got me into it later on in life, although there was a big gap there between the time when I was in late elementary school through late high school, when there was just no options for that in any of the schools I went to.
So what language? That's the $1 million question, right? What language do they start with?
So not Java would be a good.
Enough.
That would be probably. So I've had to teach Java for. So I started teaching when I was in grad school and kind of kept teaching for a long time until about 7 months ago. And most computer science programs teach in Java. And one of the things I found was that Java is an extremely difficult language for beginners to pick up if they've never seen computer programming before.
So why is that?
Have you ever seen Hello World in Java?
Okay, good point.
So it starts out, and I remember this didn't even occur to me until I had to start teaching, because I learned to program in Java when I was in college, and I didn't really have a lot of trouble with it because I had sort of had this background from when I was way younger programming. Right. So it didn't strike me as anything very bizarre seeing this Hello World program where you had to create a class, and then inside that class you had to create a function. But when I had to teach it, and I realized there were people in the classroom that had never seen a line of computer code before, and I had to write on a whiteboard or show them an example on a slide or directly in code, and I had to write public class hello, public static void main string args, system.out.println hello world. You start to do things like, okay, everybody, just ignore 90% of what you're looking at and just focus on this thing that says system.out.println. And even that's really, really, there's the cognitive load associated with it is huge, right? So anyway, Java is still widely taught in computer science programs, and I think it's just a bad language for beginners. So what would I teach if it were up to me? And this is a super controversial opinion, but I would say JavaScript. I love JavaScript. I think it's a language that it supports sort of the imperative paradigm, it supports the object-oriented paradigm, and it supports the functional paradigm. And if a lot of what people are talking about at Fluent is sort of the functional features of JavaScript and how we can use those more effectively. And I sort of feel like having all three of those tools at your disposal is a really powerful thing in a language. So, and besides that, it's so widely used. It's just such used in so many different contexts. There was a talk earlier on JavaScript and embedded devices, for instance. So it's not like you can ever give the argument that, they need to learn something that is more widely used in industry because JavaScript is the language that no matter where you go, JavaScript, no matter what company you work at, there's going to be some element of JavaScript in the stack.
So how does JavaScript get over the syntactical problems that Java has?
Have you seen Hello World in JavaScript?
It's easier.
Console.log Hello World, right?
Right.
That's nice. with Java, for me, for beginners, I don't think they need to know strong typing.
Okay.
So JavaScript has var. Obviously, that's problematic in some ways. It's function scoped and things like that. But I think the weakly typed languages, it decreases the amount of friction until you start building stuff that makes sense. And then at some point you have to learn about types, right? But the idea that to declare a before you can actually declare a variable, you have to learn about types is somehow, for beginners, I think it's problematic. So JavaScript sort of takes all that stuff and kind of hides it, and that seems to be a better way to reduce friction for beginners.
Right. So now with kids, you're talking about a formal computer science class in their school. But what about people who are adults now and they want to pick this up? I mean, what approach should they take?
That's a really good question. I think it's very, very hard to learn programming in isolation. So the book that I wrote, right, it kind of starts out with this assumption that you've seen some programming before because, and I was just talking to another author about this a little while ago, I haven't really figured out how to write sort of a self-study programming approach, right? It's something that has to be kind of learned with other, I feel like has to be learned with other people, preferably somebody who's been doing it a little bit longer and is willing to sit down and kind of explain things. So how would I start if I were an adult? I would definitely, the other thing I've been hearing a lot about at Fluent is all these dev boot camps that are cropping up, and Code Academy, and Khan Academy's got a great programming sort of thing, is to sort of find something that you can latch onto, like Khan Academy, for instance. That's another great thing is Khan Academy uses processing JS, which is something I used in a lot of classes I taught too for non-programmers, just to kind of get their feet wet. But if you're like, go to Khan Academy and sort of start their processing JS tutorial, but work with somebody on it. Try and preferably have somebody that you can that's done this stuff before that you can ask questions, because the thing that's going to make people give up is getting stuck. Right. And if you don't have anywhere to go, and Google searching doesn't help for beginners. It's not like you can just search for some of these things and figure them out. So I would just find somebody and work through the exercises on Khan Academy to get started. I think that's a great way to kind of get your feet wet, see what you can do. So the classic Greek tutor model. Right. I definitely think that needs to happen, something like that. So, but bottom line, everybody can learn to do this. Absolutely. Yeah, I think coding is an idea whose time has come, and I think there's absolutely no reason that anybody can't do it. That's the other thing you hear a lot, I think, in computer science education. The computer science education world, which drives me crazy, is this idea that, well, some people just aren't cut out for this. That is crap. It's just not true at all. Anybody can do it. You just have to find the right hook to grab somebody and sort of take them through it. Great. Well, thanks very much for spending some time with me today. Very welcome. It's my pleasure. Appreciate it.